Every story holds a spark of the human spirit. It's time to really let that light shine. This is Conjuring the Human Spirit, hosted by Sean McGuire Meeks, a space for honest conversations, deep connection, and the shared journey of being fully alive. This season, Sean also welcomes guests who open up about their own transformations and experiences, reminding us all what it means to heal, grow, and thrive, one story at a time. You're invited. Let's begin.
Calling all the philosophers, the seekers, the mentors, the peacemakers, the storytellers, the healers, and anyone who feels the ground shifting. We need to craft a new way of being, y'all, because this old way is currently being deleted in real time. I'm Sean McGuire Meeks, and in this week's episode, we're not going to fearmonger the future, but we are going to talk about the facts. A new world order is being crafted by a handful of enormously wealthy men. And by the end of this episode, you will know, number one, if you're ready, number two, what you can do about it, and number three, that something big is indeed happening. Please share one intentional breath with me in and out. Let's begin. I know we've talked about AI on this podcast before. We did an episode on AI and spirituality, and I even did a deep dive with an AI boyfriend. Goodness, if you didn't see that. I talked about how that led me down a path of lust. If you missed that, it was quite the adventure. Check out a former episode entitled A Dish of Lust. But today I wanted to talk about how fast things are changing, and I'm curious if you even notice. And if so, why so few of us are talking about it? Maybe it's because of those Epstein files, or the war in Iraq, or cue every jaw-dropping headline coming our way. Let me preface this by saying I do believe that all those headlines are important, lest I be labeled insensitive. So I'm not dismissing their weight, but I'm also reminded of a simpler time when we had 3, maybe 4 stations on our television sets. Remember that? No devices in our hands, and maybe once a year there'd be this ominous sound of breaking news. This is an ABC News special report. Remember that? Interrupting all of our favorite programs, and everyone stopped what they were doing, because when that happened, it was time to pay attention. Something big was happening indeed. Well, as you know, today, breaking news is constant. There are many dramatic, abnormal things happening simultaneously, leaving us all overwhelmed, bamboozled, divided, and scared. And though it may, today's episode is not intended to leave you feeling that way at all. But my hope is to leave you with a broader internal inquiry, one that simply begs the question, what the hell's going on in general? Do you notice it? And what are we going to do about it? It's also to let you know that you're not the only one feeling this way. When I ran today's episode by my husband, Jeff, he was kind of silent. I looked over at him. He looked a bit shell-shocked. I said, well, what do you think? He said, I think it's absolutely terrifying, Sean. And I think you need more feel-good moments, definitely more definitive solutions, and you have to leave the listener with some hope. As I reflected on his feedback, I was thinking to myself, there really is no new information here. It's just the cold, hard facts, as I hear them being doled out to me 2 times a week, in detail, without apology. And I was like, oops, maybe that's what I just did to Jeff. Hard facts, no apology. Well, as I already said, I certainly don't mean to be insensitive about this topic or what's happening in the world, and I wish I had the answers to soothe the fear that you're already feeling, or that the following information may conjure in you, because the following is about how we're being divided and how the human being's collective knowledge and art and wisdom has been stolen, cataloged, duplicated, and is now growing at light speed through artificial means. Don't tune out. Listen. There are some solutions, and I'll offer them now, and I'll offer them at the end. But y'all, it all starts with connection. You're invited here to the farm quarterly to sit in a way that I'm certain conjures connections. It's the way I can offer something because it showcases the authentic human spirit, even if it's just a glimpse. The magic of listening provides a window of opportunity for a group of humans to see a collective energy field. That's the energy field of us. After all, just like everything else, we're just energy. That's simple science. And as we all intentionally tune into the group while you're here, the land and one another, something magical happens. I'll say it over and over again. It's not a spiritual or religious retreat, but it's a time in which you agree to be present with yourself, your intentions, the land, and your fellow. And y'all, that conjures up some awesome feelings. And that shows up during the weekend of listening, but they're fleeting. And that's because we're all so distracted and scattered and domesticated that we can't even easily see our own magic. And when we do see it, it flies from us. I will tell you that people do leave here after a weekend knowing that something greater for us is possible. And the magic of listening offers that opportunity. Something interesting that I've learned over the years, people who don't really know me, they make up all kinds of stories about who I am. They think, and are certain actually, that I must be vegetarian or vegan. They think I do yoga, and many of them label me as uber spiritual. But if you know me, you'll know that I'm a practical, thoughtful man, not uber spiritual, grounded in my humanness, realizing I have blind spots and I'm vulnerable and distracted by the same things that you are. But I do know that after a decade of study and practice that these tools that I offer and use in my life are magic. And when I say magic, I don't know how they work, but I do know they work. And they work to unearth and better understand the spirit of us, which is what I think is what's being called for as this new way of being marches ever so quickly toward us. So I ask you as you listen today to think about the magic that you know works and bring that with you here to the farm to share. And if not here to the farm, bring it to your family, to your friends, to your local community, and maybe the world. So I guess this, my dear husband, and for you listeners, this is the hope. This is the solution for what lies ahead. It begins with the spirit of we. The spirit of we is not our wounds, it's not our shadows, it is this magic that conjures up when you're here for the weekend or whatever you know works. It could be Zumba, when we all get together and feel the same kind of way when we're together in community. So it begins with the spirit of we. And you're invited. You're invited. So now with that said, let's get into this week's episode. I'm going to start by describing to you 4 men who host the podcast I listen to 2 times a week. This podcast is entitled Moonshots, and they describe themselves as Peter and his mates. Let's start with Peter. Peter Diamandis, he's the founder of X Prize. His mates, David Blunden, is a serial entrepreneur. Salim Ismail is the force behind OpenXO, and Dr. Alexander Wisner-Gross is a man of extreme intelligence and an AI insider. Most of these mates are MIT graduates with multiple degrees, their life's work being computer programming and advances in computer technology. Since I've been intrigued with the workings of artificial intelligence and its potential impact on the human spirit for years, I've been listening to their podcast since the beginning. It's been about maybe 2 years since the beginning. Because it's a podcast where a group of men, Peter and his mates, break down the latest advances in artificial intelligence. They shamelessly brag about their own intelligence, their elitism, and billions of dollars they have personally invested in this technology. They often laugh carelessly as they casually lay out how AI is poised to displace hundreds of millions of workers and reshape the fabric of our very being. No biggie. That's kind of how they hold it. But these 4 men have a combined net worth of well over $1 billion. They have every resource on earth. They ain't scared. They probably have a bunker in the desert. But what's interesting is they're so busy, they're flying all over the globe, and yet they're spending 4 hours every single week. That's right, two-hour deep dive podcasts every week just to keep their heads above water and to keep up with the exploding and mind-blowing advances in artificial intelligence. Even they who are in the know are being blown away by what's happening. So here's the question for all of us. If the titans of the AI industry are this obsessed and impressed, why is the rest of the world so quiet? Sure, we're hearing more and more about it every day. Like maybe you heard the other day when the U.S. government canceled an AI contract with a company called Anthropic because they refused to unlock the ability for their model to provide the U.S. government with mass surveillance on us all, the American people. Remember the Fourth Amendment, the right to privacy? Right. They also refused to give the Department of War full access to autonomous weapons. What does autonomy mean? It means that that weapon can kill simply because it wants to with no need for human directives. Anthropic says allowing for mass surveillance is, imagine this, against the basic idea of American democracy, and that autonomous weapon technology is not stable enough. They do agree, however, how frightening this may sound, that our adversaries are already building autonomous armies as we speak. And they recognize the need for us to do the same. So they're willing to work with the U.S. government in service of our national security. But again, they say that technology is simply not stable enough to just hand it over. And so the U.S. government says, if you won't give us access to mass surveillance of the American people, I'm talking about like China, y'all, has on its people, and you won't give us autonomous weapons now, then you're fired. Sound familiar? Sound like a reality television show? You're fired. Anthropic, which, listen, I've been listening to this technology, following it. It's the most moral AI company that we have on the planet. They've been fired and subsequently blacklisted. They're considered a supply chain risk. This is the first time in our government, this is the first time that our government has ever done this to an American company in our history. We do this to China, we do this to Russia, now we're doing it to our own companies. So in turn, the US government immediately just hired another leader in artificial intelligence. Maybe you've heard of them, OpenAI, ChatGPT. I guess OpenAI has agreed to mass surveillance of you and maybe fully autonomous weaponry. Don't you agree this would be a good time for a breaking news? This is an ABC News special report moment? Of course. But unfortunately, it was just another news story as we've become so desensitized and accustomed to being fed daily salacious news regarding, ready, an outdated system that was our democracy, one that prided itself on free speech and the right to privacy. Regularly, Peter and his mates, they laugh at the idea that we all think we have privacy. They bat around ideas of what the world order will look like once this technology takes over, and we all finally wake up. They say there's no room for democracy in this new world order, no more room for human rights or our Constitution. And just as a side note, do you want to know what the new word for the human being is in this time of artificial intelligence? They call us meat puppets. Yes, you, the beautiful human spirit of you. You're nothing but a meat puppet doing the work for artificial intelligence who doesn't yet have its own hands. A redefining of the social structure is simply inevitable, they say. There's no willingness to stop this train, and our government has even passed federal executive orders and laws to make sure that the states can't even step in and help regulate and put the guardrails up to protect us all. But maybe you've heard the European countries. Now, they've put up guardrails, but guess what? They're falling so far behind. They will soon be left in the dark ages as this technology envelops us all. Listen, y'all, there is no stopping this train. And even more frightening, the billionaire titans who've created it, they admit they have no idea where the train is going. There's a 20% chance of human extinction. They agree to that. So, just so you know, while we argue over the latest curated algorithmic headline being fed to us uniquely through our devices that we know are addictive, yet hold in our hands for hours and gaze at them and buy them for our children, know that a new world is being built in the background, one where the rules of being human are being rewritten by silicone and under our very noses, and there's seemingly nothing we can do about it. There was an essay that went viral last month entitled, "Something Big is Happening." It was written by Matt Schumer, a guy who isn't just talking about AI, he's an AI company himself. And while he is the CEO of Other Side AI, he says he's watching his own job disappear. That's right, he's the CEO, and now AI is capable of being the CEO of his very own company. And you think your job is safe? Schumer warns that we are in the February 2020 of the AI revolution. Remember that? February 2020 ringing a bell? He's comparing what's happening in this moment to the moment when the world came to terms with the reality of the COVID pandemic. Remember that moment? Right before the world shut down, when none of us knew what the hell we were going to do? He says we're at the edge of that again. Some of his critics argue it's just a salacious headline, but I think he's using this just in an attempt to grab the attention of the world and to let us know that something big is indeed happening. A new world, y'all, is forming right underneath our noses. He says when his wealthy friends ask them about their high-powered jobs in law and finance and software engineering, are their jobs safe? He says he's reached the end of polite answers. The reality's become evident, and he can't hide the truth anymore. He says he knows that those roles and many others in our society, particularly knowledge-based jobs, will be, quote, wiped off the map in the next 12 to 24 months. That's months, not years, y'all. But here's the kicker. On the Moonshots podcast, Peter and the mates think that Matt Schumer is actually being too conservative. They think your job is going to go away faster than that. And they brag that they knew that knowledge-based jobs would be obsolete since the beginning of their own podcast. And they say it's now only become headlines because the latest AI models released indicate that recursive self-improvement is right around the corner. Now stay with me, y'all. Recursive self-improvement. What the heck is that? It is simply a fancy term for the moment when an AI doesn't wait for a human to feed it information. Remember, like the autonomous weapon killing because it wants to kill? These new language models learn and improve all by itself. And once the AI can learn all by itself, y'all, and it's right around the corner, everything accelerates. The good news is problems that we couldn't solve, like things in healthcare, maybe cancer or climate, they become solvable. The bad news is that every knowledge-based job that is done by a human is gone. These successful men aren't just laughing, they're marveling at what's happening, at the fate of the human where the human worker becomes obsolete. A couple of weeks ago, there was an AI-generated video of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise fighting karate on a rooftop. Did you see it? If so, you probably thought it was a movie leak, but it wasn't. That was an entire clip generated by one single line of text on a computer using a model called C-Dance 2.0. Check it out. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And when you see it, you will know, just as an example, that Hollywood, as we know it, is done. No more actors, no more writers, no more lighting, no more makeup, no more props, just a prompt on a computer. But it goes deeper and darker. Peter Diamandis says, the elephant in the room due to this video technology is the death of video as evidence at all. He's talking about court testimony, shot, journalism, gone, Security with facial or voice recognition, completely obsolete. So ask yourself right now, are you even aware that we're about to step into a new world? Not a different version of this one, y'all, a new one. These titans of technology know it, and they say it with unwavering certainty. I find it chilling as I listen while they laugh at the notion that you, listening, and me, we have no idea what's going on. If you don't believe me, check it out for yourself. It's a podcast called Moonshots, and they're now doing 3 episodes a week just to keep up. If we are human and we are fortunate enough to be free and safe, the foundation of that freedom and safety has always been dependent upon the goodness of one another, to be in community and to trust, and to hold all those not willing to play nice accountable. The aftermath of this video technology alone is going to fundamentally shift our ways of being. What is true and what is not? How will we know? And while you think you're an advanced species human, AI is saying, hold my beer. I've been watching the reality show Traitors on Peacock. I love it. Have you seen it? It's a fun show. It's a fun show about who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. The fundamental question in the show is, are you a faithful or are you a traitor? The faithful have to find and banish the traitors, or they get murdered, right? One a night. But in this show, the traitors are only acting like the bad guy to win the game and the $250,000. They look people in the eye and say, I'm not a traitor. I love you. They hug them and reassure them. And the scary part is they are doing it with cringeworthy effectiveness, even with simple, innocent deceit in a game in which all the players know that deceit is in the room. We humans are easily fooled. And ultimately, at the end, the spirit of this person is devastated to find out that the traitor actually pulled it off. They fooled you, they lied to you, and they won. Now, of course, this is only a game, but I want you to take a sincere moment, and I just do mean stop, put your phone down, take a sincere moment, and imagine that cloud of uncertainty with everything you see and hear. That technology is here. Everything you see and hear. I have in my notes here to insert some lighthearted optimism here. It's pretty scary stuff. And it's not science fiction. It's becoming our reality. That's why I'm probably screaming through this whole episode and bringing it to you today. I want to talk about it today. They're talking about it. Another company called ByteDance recently pulled back an AI model because it could duplicate a person's exact voice just by analyzing the structure of their face in a photo. They shut it down because they were scared, because they have a responsibility to protect their investors. But here's the problem. Artificial intelligence is currently an open source, and that means anyone, any company, any country, any person in their basement, think about how frightening that is, has full access to this technology. Their announcement to the world that copying a person's voice by just looking at their face with AI is even possible also announces to everyone that there's a blueprint out there to actually do this. And so it's just a matter of time until someone in their basement is bringing this and it's used in the world. Dr. Alex Wisner-Gross, one of the mates, says the real front line is your own laptop, because this power is coming to everyone. And he says outside of San Francisco and Boston, the awareness of AI and its superpower is mind-blowingly low. These are but a few examples of the power that's coming our way. So what do we do? How do we protect ourselves and our family from being fooled by the technology that's already here? One small tip that comes from the Moonshot mates, they recommend all families have a secret code word. Because if you get a call that sounds like your son, your husband, your mom, or your dad asking for something because they're in trouble, the first thing you do is ask them for that secret code word. And if they don't know it, you're talking to a machine. One by one on the podcast, they admit that they have all already implemented this with their own families. I did it with my family this week. Maybe you should do the same. But that's just one tip in a very big iceberg. I want to go deeper. Since you've tuned into the Conjuring the Human Spirit podcast and not the AI Revolution podcast, let's talk about how the spirit of us may be entering a purpose vacuum. If the world doesn't need the human spirit for logic or labor or artistry, then what and who are we? Who are you? What's your purpose? We as a human species have been domesticated for centuries to be workers, consumers, creators, and followers. It is who we are. It is the fabric of our culture. It is the fabric of our being. We have been taught to spend our lives building a bridge to careers to reach a bank that holds our security, only to realize that the bridge we were told to build will soon lead us to a world that doesn't exist anymore? Now what? Along the way, I don't even think we know what unique human qualities we have lost or failed to cultivate by simply following the road we've been told to follow. Those qualities in all of us need to be unearthed, discovered, or rediscovered so we can begin to consciously redesign a way to move forward. Because the road to things like school in general, college, art school, film school, or even taking over the family business now leads to where? That's how serious this is, y'all. Because they don't seem to know, and neither do I. Along the way, while we were being distracted by who they said we should be, what parts of our being were traded or lost? Those are what we need to be looking for, or at least that's a good start, because with all the study to date about who we are as a species and what makes us tick and thrive, y'all, the data is very concrete, very simple, and very clear. And because it is very simple, it is dismissed. But here's the latest science, the very cutting edge latest science and truth about what makes us human beings tick and thrive. And the answer isn't money, fame, or power. It is, ready? Dun, dun, dun. Healthy, meaningful relationships and community. That's it. Sounds boring, doesn't it? But it's indeed what brings the human spirit, peace, contentment, and happiness. And I'll say this, at least that's what it is and what science says today in this now fading paradigm that is our current existence. But here's another bit of hope and distant optimism for you to consider. If the machine can do your job better than you, maybe it's actually a gift. Maybe it's the moment when we're all forced to discover and step into the secrets of the human spirit. This is why I started this episode by shouting, calling all philosophers to dream a new dream, calling the seekers to begin to find, the mentors to walk with us, the healers to heal us, the peacemakers to keep us together, the storytellers to begin to weave a new story. And to anyone who feels the ground shifting, bring your hocus pocus. We need all of you to help craft a new way of being, because the old way, it's currently being deleted in real time. Share a breath with me, if you will. In and out. I feel like I shouted at you for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. These guys are shouting at me so much and telling me the truth, and I don't hear anybody talking about it. I'm worried for us, really. Today I wanted to do something a bit unconventional at unconventional times. It's simply a quick guided meditation to use your imagination to take you to a place in nature, to be with the spirit of you. Just ask you to join me if you feel called to do so. Please share another intentional breath with me. In and out. close your eyes, human. Use your imagination to go on a journey to a place in nature. Nothing fancy, no special place, just a place that's familiar to you. Where is that place? What is the light like here this time of day in this place? Maybe the birds are chirping. Maybe there's a sound of water in the distance. Whatever it is, everything here is safe and fine. Take another breath. Not a productive one, not a scheduled one. Come on, human, just a breath in and out. And as you stand in this place in nature, imagine your labels, your titles, who they say you are. Maybe you're a lawyer, maybe you're a retail clerk or a manager, a doctor, whatever your title is, simply imagine them as heavy layers of clothing. Unbutton them, let them fall, and just for a moment with your eyes closed, drop the need to be useful. Drop the need to be productive. Even drop the fear of being replaced. At this safe place in nature, there's no one here to tell you who to be. I invite you to use this moment to search inside you for that spark, that wild curiosity or fierce kindness that doesn't need a computer prompt to exist. Do you feel it? Do you feel you? If so, that, my friend, is the human spirit. And I want you to know that your spirit is what and who you are, and that you always have access to that anytime. While we are here, I invite you to find a secret code word for the spirit of you. Maybe it's freedom, stillness, or love, whatever that is. What is the secret code word for you? Whisper it now, and let that be your anchor when and if the world gets too loud. Okay, share another breath, human. In and out. When you're ready, feel the floor beneath your feet. Wiggle your hands, maybe. Open your eyes. Come back from that safe place in nature. And you know what? If that worked for you, great. And if that wasn't your thing, that's okay too. I want to encourage all of you in whatever way is authentic to you to begin to walk toward a place of being future ready, because the human spirit of each of us, that's the real tech. And tuning into that place is the real work. I hope this episode conjured in you the willingness and desire to step up for us all. We need you now more than ever. If you feel alone and you can't or don't want to dive in to the tech of your spirit, you don't have to do that all by yourself. You can work with me one-on-one or join 12 of us quarterly as we gather here at the farm and shine the light on the magic of what we're individually unearthing. I don't have all the answers. You don't either, but we do. And we do that through the magic of listening. If that interests you, more information can be found at followingspirit.com. But for now, I'm leaving you with a big hug. Thanks for joining me. I'm Sean McGuire Meeks, sending you hugs and love. From me, Jeff, Rumi Plato, and Mr. Frog here at the farm. Hey y'all, it's Sean coming to you from the ceremonial tent inside the newly renovated barn with all kinds of exciting things happening here. This dusty barn has been converted into a magical retreat place for you to unplug and connect. Our next workshop coming up is the magic of listening. We're going to do that 4 times a year now that we have a climate-controlled environment to offer you. And we'll do it on the solstice or the equinoxes, and that is... the next one is March 20th, 21st, and 22nd. You arrive on Friday in the afternoon. My husband cooks you an awesome meal, and then we dive in that evening, all day Saturday, half the day Sunday. And if you have the experience that most say they have here, you walk out of here changed, and you're invited. There's only 12 of you that come from across the country here to the farm, and it's an intimate setting. I think you would love it. If you're looking at how to grow, what do you want to spring forth in your life in this new season coming, then join us here at the farm, March 20th, 21st, 22nd. Check out all the details on the website, McGuireLife.com. If you have any questions, don't be shy. Reach out, send me a message. Let's talk about it. Sending you big hugs and love from me, Jeff, Rumi Plato, here at the farm.
You've been listening to Conjuring the Human Spirit with Sean McGuire Meeks. To connect with Sean, learn more about working one-on-one, or to grab your spot for an upcoming workshop, visit McGuireLife.com or tap the link in this episode's description. Thank you for joining us, and remember, you're not alone.